The heat rolled against my face before I even hit the driveway. You know, that gut punch feeling like stepping into a furnace and all you can think is, this can't be happening, not here, not now. Smoke curled up from the edges of the garage door, the one locked tight with Patricia's brand new safety mechanism, her idea of compliance. My niece was inside. I could hear her fists, tiny but frantic, pounding on that metal. Her voice muffled, clawing for a way out while the fire started its cruel march. That's the nightmare no one preps you for. Patricia said it was about safety, said the lock was for our own good. But I spent 15 years as a fire marshal and I could see every flaw in that mechanism, every code it broke, every inch of risk they ignored just to have their rules obeyed. They'd shrugged off my warnings, dismissed my credentials, treated me like some stubborn old uncle with too many opinions. But now a 12-year-old girl was trapped because the HOA wanted power more than they cared about people and all that talk of rules and fines. That was out the window. This was blood. This was family. This was the last piece of my dad's legacy, the garage he built with his own hands about to burn, while everyone hid behind policies. "Lock it up," Patricia snapped, not even glancing at me, her red nails drumming that clipboard like she was holding court, and I was just another peasant. Her security guy didn't hesitate, just slammed that steel plate home clank like the world's coldest prison door. My niece's birthday candles still smoldered inside sweet wax and gasoline mixing with the kind of dread you taste in your throat. Patricia thought she just scored another victory, added another fine to her little empire, but she had no idea she just made herself responsible for a death trap. "You're making a mistake," I said, staring her down, my voice steady, probably the calmest I sounded all year. And for the first time I saw her hesitate. 15 years as a fire marshal, I told her that Locke wouldn't pass a single state inspection. "You just broke 3 federal safety codes before lunch." She flinched, but then that smug smile snapped right back like glass. "This community doesn't run on your opinion, Mercer. It runs on compliance. The nerve." I told her my name, Daniel Mercer, and I reminded her I'd built half the fire protocols for this county before she ever printed her first violation notice. That garage was my dad's sweat, his hands in every beam and bolt, and she wanted to lecture me about safety. "You ever stand there knowing history is on your side, but bureaucracy is about to steamroll you anyway?" That driveway was heavy with ghosts, my dad's, my brother's, and now maybe Emily's. Every crack in that cement was another memory they were about to scorch. Emily made that garage her playroom, her own way to be close to the grandfather she'd never meet. And Patricia couldn't see any of that, just an unauthorized storage violation. I clenched my fists, that echo of the lock clanking shut stuck in my brain, knowing I'd just let a piece of my family's last inheritance get turned into a coffin. This wasn't about some damn property line. It was about blood, about a promise I made to my brother at his funeral to keep his girl safe no matter the cost. Patricia strutted off, clutching that clipboard to her chest like a trophy. I stood there, sweat rolling down my back, just listening to that lock ring in my ears. But the next morning I marched straight into the HOA office. Fresh paint marble counters, fake smile photos of ribbon cuttings. Honestly, I'd been in war rooms with less arrogance. Patricia wasn't there, but Marcus, her VP, was hunched over a stack of violation notices. He smirked about someone's lawn being 2 inches too long, like it was some private joke. They didn't care about safety, just about flexing power, treating neighbors like suspects. That's when I knew Patricia's rules weren't just choking me and Emily. They were squeezing the life out of everyone. Marcus handed me my own violation unsafe storage with no more feeling than if he was sorting junk mail. "Unsafe?" I asked, keeping it quiet but loaded. "You just locked a fire hazard into place." He froze just a flicker, but I saw it. Years of reading courtroom body language, I knew when someone realized they'd screwed up. I walked out, but every laugh and casual cruelty in that office burned deeper than the heat on my neck. This wasn't order. It was profit, control, people beaten down, too tired or scared to resist. By the time I hit the parking lot, my anger was something cold and sharp. I looked at the neighborhood identical houses, sprinklers hissing, kids' bikes, scattered like nothing was wrong. But I knew beneath it all was fierce silence and Patricia's rules enforced by intimidation. That's when I realized fear only works until someone calls your bluff. And I wasn't just anyone. I had the training, the knowledge, and the scars. They thought they were landlords. I saw them for what they were: liability time bombs. That afternoon, a neighbor texted me, "Another violation, thinking of selling before it gets worse." That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about my family. Patricia was burying everyone in red tape and fines. I stared at the locked garage, at Emily's chalk hearts fading in the sun. I swore I wouldn't let her grow up in fear. I was ready to swing first. That weekend, the HOA held a family day at the park. Fake smiles under a white canopy, kids with balloons, Patricia acting like a queen with Marcus at her side. I leaned against a tree, watching neighbors dodge her gaze, whispering about new fines, about moving out. That's when I saw Mara Jensen, one of the board, but always on the edge, lemonade in hand, shoulders tight. Every time Patricia snapped at a kid or waved her clipboard, Mara flinched just a little, but it was real. I knew that look from rookie firefighters stuck under a bad captain. She wanted to speak, but fear had her locked up too. I wandered over, made small talk. She squeezed that cup so hard it bent. "Rough week?" I asked, didn't even need to specify. She nodded, glancing at Patricia, then away. Her silence said everything she wanted changed, but was too scared to make the first move. I didn't push her. Sometimes people need to see you'll stand with them before they risk it all. Patricia's violation notice landed in my mailbox like a punch garage misuse, won $500 more if I didn't comply. Her signature at the bottom like she was some judge handing down a sentence. I stormed into the clubhouse paper, clenched in my fist, watched Patricia and Marcus lounging like royalty. "Unsafe storage is unsafe storage," Marcus sneered. "This isn't about codes, it's about community standards," Patricia said, arms folded tight. I leaned in, all the rage I'd swallowed coming up. When your rules put a child's life at risk, you're not running a community. You're running a liability factory. Her hand shook on that pen. She knew I wasn't bluffing. A resident nearby holding his own, violation straightened up. Patricia tapped her pen, desperate to regain control. "This meeting is adjourned." "Go ahead, call security," I said. "Because when the fire marshal's office sees these locks, you'll wish your only problem was me." People heard. Something shifted. That night I walked the neighborhood with a flashlight looking for violations. The new locks were criminal, a bolt straight through the emergency release handle. In a fire you couldn't pull the red cord, couldn't get out. Any kid, any elderly neighbor trapped. I snapped photos documenting every lock, every violation. Mara saw me tense, glancing at the cameras. "You shouldn't be looking at that." "Just walking," I said. She didn't argue, just watched me, knowing I was right but still afraid. I finished with a phone full of proof. I called an old partner, Alvarez, laid out what I'd found. "If that's true, Danny, they're in violation of state and federal standards. That's not just negligence, that's criminal." It hit me hard. I wasn't paranoid, I was right. Patricia couldn't laugh this off. I looked at Emily's chalk on the garage wall, at the photo evidence, at the risk. I'd spent years running toward danger. Now the fire was right here. And then, like fate wanted to prove my point, the smell of smoke hit me again. Crackling shouts. "Fire! Someone call 911. I sprinted 2 houses down, orange light flickering against the same kind of garage door, same lock. Inside, a boy pounded the metal, choking on smoke. I grabbed a crowbar, wedged it in, prayed the heat hadn't welded the latch. It fought me, but finally the lock snapped, the door flying up. The boy stumbled out, alive but covered in soot, his mother sobbing, the crowd gasping. It wasn't a miracle. It was luck, and luck runs out. The fire truck came, but by then everyone had seen the lock, seen the danger. Patricia showed up pale and desperate, declaring it an isolated incident. No one bought it. I held up the blackened lock. This is what nearly killed him. Silence. The neighborhood finally saw the truth. The next morning, Mara came to me trembling, exhausted. "Can we talk?" She'd kept records, screenshots, emails, meeting minutes. Patricia told her to delete. She handed them over, begging me to protect her and her daughter if things went south. I promised. She'd done the bravest thing, spoke up. Now with her files, I had proof, not just words. I spent the night building my case photos, statutes, testimonies, every piece labeled and cross-referenced. I asked Mrs. Alvarez for a statement. She said, "If Patricia's locks almost killed my boy, people need to know." That's all it took. Others started speaking up. A dad fined for a stepladder, a widow harassed over oxygen tanks. Fear started to crack when they saw the photos, when they saw Patricia's rules through my lens. Patricia tried to threaten me. Organizing against the board carries consequences. I held up the folder. "So does negligence." Neighbors heard. She drove off, rattled for the first time. That night my phone buzzed with messages. "I'm in. What do we do?" Patricia wanted to isolate me, but now she'd united everyone she'd bullied. The next HOA meeting, I carried my binder and the blackened lock. The hall was packed, people standing along the walls, buzz thick in the air. Patricia sat up front, clipboard, a shield Marcus by her side. I set the lock on the table, clang. This is what almost killed the Alvarez boy. Patricia tried to shut me down, but I opened the binder, page after page of evidence, code violations, testimonies. I played Mrs. Alvarez's statement, her voice trembling, describing her son's screams. Mara stood up, handed over her own folder, emails, screenshots, deleted minutes. The room erupted. Neighbors shouted, waved their own violations, called out Patricia's cruelty. Patricia tried to end the meeting, but the sheriff stepped forward. Someone had called him. She was escorted out. No power. Left her eyes full of venom, but nothing to hold on to. The next day, the sun seemed brighter. Laughter returned. Kids rode their bikes again. People waved for real. The fire marshal's office cited every illegal lock contractors, ripped them all out by noon. Patricia's resignation hit email. Marcus whispered about quitting. Mara brought me the originals she'd saved. You made sure they couldn't bury it again. She'd finally let herself believe it was over. Emily ran into the garage, laughter echoing off the walls that once held so much fear. My dad's legacy, my brother's promise, my niece's safety, all of it protected. The twisted lock sits on my shelf now, not as a warning, but as proof of what happens when regular people refuse to back down. So where are you watching from? Ever seen an HOA president fall this hard? Drop a comment. Share your story. Let's talk about what justice really looks like, because in this neighborhood we're writing our own ending now.